Well, today, if you could ignore this giant cystic acne volcano on my face, we're finally gonna be tuning the Mustang. I just went to the Ford dealer this morning. I had them reflash the ECU, and it was $110, which, I mean, could be worse. It's still annoying, but at least now it's done, and now we're gonna go ahead and download the tunes. Come with me, please, as we make the Mustang re-fast like it already was. All right, about time we finally do this and it actually works, hopefully this time. All right, we'll go ahead and get the key in the ignition to run. Then we can go ahead and plug in the tuner down here. There's no way the camera is gonna be able to see where this is plugging in. Boom, we are ready to go. So let's make sure that we actually have the most recent update for it. All right, and we are saving the stock tune that I just had to pay $110 for. And after this, we should be uploading the 93 race tune. I am very excited. I am curious to see how it compares to the tune that was on the car when I bought it. Uploading the tune. And here we are, we're so close. Almost done writing the tune. There we are, 100%. And now it's doing the needle wobble that it does, apparently, which is kind of disconcerting. It's so weird hearing all the systems on the vehicle, like, doing their thing. Like, I can hear stuff under the hood, in the dash. The needle is doing whatever it's doing. And then now I gotta turn the key off, apparently. And it says, my vehicle has been programmed and to enjoy. Well, I will certainly try. Here we go. Let's start it up and see what happens. That already feels like a better idle than stock was, which is super odd. But I mean, with the headers and everything that the car has, when I went back to the stock tune, just driving it home, because that's all I did with it, the idle was kind of weird at times. Whereas with this, it's idling pretty good. Feels like pretty good throttle response. I am very curious to see how this goes. I'm gonna data log this so that I can get a revision in the future. So this is being filmed on Saturday afternoon. I will update you with my updated impressions when you're seeing this video on Wednesday. After driving the car around for, I don't know, probably 100-ish miles at that point, and just see how the tune is, what I like about it, and whether or not it lives up to how the car was when I bought it, evidently also tuned. I'd be surprised if it didn't have like a BAMA tune on it or something like that. Only time will tell, so I will see you guys with my updated impressions. Welcome back to 4 days and over 500 miles later. I took the Mustang on a trip with my wife to Chicago. We went and saw a concert. It was We3, if any of you are interested. Good band. My wife's a big fan of them. I was able to take her to go see them. That was cool. They did a really good job, by the way. Not really the point, but I was gone for a couple days. That is why this upload is late. I thought I was gonna be able to get this upload done earlier than I actually was able to do so. So normally uploads go up at 8 a.m. Wednesday, so everything you're seeing is from at least a day before. Right now it is 1:38 Wednesday, so we have some work to do. But the Mustang is tuned, and I am actually very, very happy with the results of said tuning of the Mustang. So let's go ahead and start the Mustang up. We'll talk about something that I have noticed has changed with the startup, and then we'll go ahead and get into the Mustang and give some general driving impressions, both in comparison to the stock tune when it was on the car briefly, and the tune that was on the car before. I don't know what the tune that was on the car before was from, but I can still give you my impressions on it. As far as how the startup has changed, the car idles a little bit higher and overall sounds a little bit more aggressive on initial startup than I feel like it did before. That could be a little bit of a placebo, but I'm fairly sure that it's ever so slightly different. It's not a huge change, but just something to do with the way that the tune has adjusted the way that the car idles or the way that the fuel is delivered when the car is idling is a little bit different. Let me show you. Just then the car started to idle down a little bit, but the initial cold start of the car seems a lot more aggressive than it used to be. So what exactly was altered to make that the case, I don't know, but it definitely seems louder on cold start than it used to be. It sounds great. At this point, I don't even know if I want to make changes to the exhaust, just because at this point, changing the exhaust at startup, it might be a little obnoxious considering I do have about 2 neighbors that are on the same street as me, but you can hear now. The car idles great. Everything is pretty good. And one other thing I want to talk about before we get driving, because the car will have warmed up a tiny bit by the time we get in it and start driving it, is the drivability in cold temperatures is noticeably improved. So I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute, but it is definitely noticeably improved versus the tune that was on the car and even the stock tune. So I think it's about time that we go ahead and hop in the Mustang and go for a drive, and we'll talk about what all I think is different with the tune, whether or not I would recommend the tune, and we will be filming this just on my phone. I am looking into getting a better in-car camera setup. It's really difficult to set up this whole camera in the car. I used to have a mount that I could do it with. I have no idea where that mount has ended up over the, it seems like hundreds of times I've moved over the last few years. So this is what we're gonna do right now, and hopefully it'll be okay. So if the quality drops, I apologize. This is something we're gonna work on in the future. All right, so we're going for our drive on the Mustang. We're gonna drive really slow on this road because it is incredibly bumpy. So the car is still fairly cold right now. And one major change compared to what we were experiencing before is that the low speed drivability of the car is drastically improved at cold temperatures. And yes, I am sorry, a ton of these roads around here are insanely bumpy and poorly maintained. Welcome to Illinois. And along with that, the car also has pretty bumpy suspension in the first place. Sorry, I got distracted by my exhaust. But overall, the car drives really, really well, and I'm very impressed with how the tune improved the low-speed drivability so much. A big thing that you notice, or I noticed immediately, is the improvement in throttle response. Of course, there's traffic in front of us right now, but I mean, I'm driving along in third gear at 20 miles an hour. I just give it a little bit of throttle, and it just wants to go. It is so much more responsive and punchy than it used to be. I talked before about the low speed drivability issues I was having with the car when cold, which is essentially that the throttle had a lot of hesitation and was very, very jerky at low speeds, and essentially would kind of like drop out of actually applying any throttle, and the car would kind of stutter. So when the car was very cold, it goes away when it warms up, and the car runs fantastic once it's warmed up. So if there is a deeper issue, I don't know exactly what it is. It's just something that I might have to pick away at, but it has been much, much better. Before, we were getting a lot of like jerky clutch action at low speed when it was cold, and just a super duper hesitant throttle. Now you can still tell that the car is cold, but the throttle is much, much more responsive, and that general jerkiness that I was experiencing is not an issue with this tune. When I flashed the car back to stock at the dealership, I was actually shocked with how bad the stock tune felt.
Now, part of that might be because the stock tune has not adapted whatsoever to any of the conditions of this specific car. But the jerkiness was even worse. The throttle response was very bad, and overall the car just was not driving particularly well. I did do one pretty good second gear pull with the stock tune, and it definitely was noticeably slower than the tune that I had taken off and then the tune, the BAMA 93 race tune that we have on the car now. So bumpy. I really wish I knew what the tune that was on the car before was, because I couldn't get that information from anywhere. I'm not 100% sure. But this tune is definitely noticeably better than that tune was. It is just overall more responsive throughout the entire power band. And this minivan's gonna block us from doing a pull right here where I was gonna do a pull. We might be able to go slow enough to put some distance between us and that minivan. There's another minivan behind us. Why am I in a minivan sandwich? Third gear, rolling on in just a second at 3,000 RPM. Let me make sure I can do this safely. I'm not about to endanger anyone, including myself. All right, here we go. It is very, very, very quick. The car does not hesitate. With the 93 race tune, it is much more aggressive in pretty much every aspect in comparison to the stock tune and the tune that we used to have on the car. Another benefit of the 93 race tune, since I put it on, I've only put 93 in the car, but you can actually run anywhere from 91 to 93. The ECU on the car will automatically adjust timing to suit whichever fuel you're using. Obviously, you'll make a little bit more power on 93. But overall, I am very impressed with how it's been able to do everything. I have not sent in for any revisions so far. I'm gonna data log for a little bit again here shortly and send them in the data logs that I've recorded so far and see what a revision is like. I'll update later on a potential revision for this, but right now I am very surprised with how well this has been performing in literally pretty much every single way. Now, as far as downsides go, are there any downsides with the BAMA 93 race tune? If you ask anyone on forums, they'll tell you yes. I don't have a VMP or a Lund racing tune or something like that to compare this to. Maybe if I did, I would be more impressed with those tunes than I am with the BAMA tune. But this has definitely made a noticeable increase in performance. So if that's what you're looking for, something that takes the modifications you have to the car and actually makes use of them, this is a really great option that's inexpensive. And if you don't ever plan to do a ton of stuff to the car, it's not like this isn't something that you will enjoy. BAMA offers free tune revisions for life when you buy a device for their tunes from American Muscle. But downsides. One major downside that I have had with this tune is that I do now have a check engine light. Now, they do have, I believe, in their FAQ section, a question that says, will BAMA tunes give me a check engine light? And of course they answer no. And I'm not blaming the BAMA tune for the check engine light, but the reality is that whatever tune I had on the car before evidently blocked the check engine light from coming up because of the O2 sensors. So I am reading that the O2 sensors are not reading what they should be. It's because I have long tube headers. I have long tube headers, and although I do have high flow cats, it doesn't matter. I'm still getting a check engine light for it. A lot of people experience that, and BAMA does have basically a trouble code check engine light decoder thing and talk about what the issue is and possible fixes for it. And basically they say they won't fix this. And that makes sense because it's a legal, emissions control thing. So I'm not really that surprised about it, especially because BAMA works so closely as basically a part of American Muscle, which is an online parts distributor. So realistically, when you think about it, it makes sense. If you were to get a tune from a company that works closely with Amazon, it makes sense that they wouldn't want to screw too much with like carb non-legal stuff and things to do with that sort of general idea. So the fact that they are not going to change any of the parameters for the way that the O2 sensors read or whatever for places that have state inspection and things like that, they don't want to be involved with that. They want to keep their hands clean from that sort of thing. So if you have long tube headers, you probably are going to have a check engine light. Other tuners may be more lax about this than BAMA. Just something to keep in mind. So if you have long tube headers, you might get a check engine light. You might not, but I would not be surprised if you do. I have a check engine light on. I can clear it, comes back within a couple 100 miles. So although it's annoying, I just deal with it being on my dashboard for right now. Other downside, I mentioned hesitation in the throttle at low speed when the car is cold. I have not experienced that whatsoever with this tune, but I have experienced a little bit of hesitation from the throttle when it comes to blipping the engine for rev match downshifts. It doesn't do it every time, but I'll see if I can kind of give you an example. Not there so much. This road is so loud though. Apparently it's just downshifting really good right now. It doesn't normally do it, but on occasion the car will kind of cough when giving it a quick blip for a downshift instead of just doing exactly what you would expect. It's not a big deal by any means, and if you're doing a really aggressive downshift into like second gear or something like that, it doesn't typically seem to be an issue, but it is on occasion in certain circumstances, especially right there. I just gave it a blip. You might have heard nothing, or you might have heard just kind of coughing. That was a downshift from 5th into 4th, and it just basically didn't really blip the throttle. Again, this is something that could potentially be fixed with a revision, or this is something that is just an issue I am having personally with my car. I don't know which is the case, or if either is the case necessarily. It's just something to report. Another thing to report is that although low-speed drivability is still much, much better than the stock tune or the past tune, I think it probably still could be better. I drove this car a lot in standstill Chicago traffic, and the tune is good and low-speed drivability is good overall, but I think it could just use being dialed in a little bit more. And that's, again, something that data logging and sending that info in for revision might help with. From what I have seen thus far by monitoring it with the Rev X tuner that I have from SCT, with these tunes loaded on them, all of the parameters of the car seem to be pretty good. You don't have a direct air-fuel ratio reading, but you do have an LAM SBE, or LAMBSE, I think it actually is, reading, which is essentially just like a different form of reading an air-fuel ratio. There's a really simple equation to basically calculate that reading directly into an air-fuel ratio, and what the numbers are reading when under full throttle and driving around seem perfectly fine. The car seems healthy. The only issue really we're having is just that little bit of hesitation with the throttle still under certain circumstances. Also, you might hear the one other problem I have with this vehicle really is that you can probably hear it on shifts too. You might have been hearing it in this video and wondering it. I believe that the throwout bearing, which is also the slave cylinder on this because it's a hydraulic clutch, is going out. Well, not really going out, but it's definitely worn. The car shifts perfectly fine. It's not like an issue with that, but you can hear it whenever you have the clutch in. It's not a huge deal. It's just something that I'll have to keep an eye out on replacing in the future, probably. Now, as far as those downsides go, that's pretty much all that I have personally experienced with it. I'll continue updating this as I have the BAMA tune. Okay, let's do a little second gear here. I think we kind of just spun second there, but that's all right. But yeah, overall, I don't really have many complaints with the tune. I think that it's pretty good, all things considered. It's definitely safe. That's the issue that a lot of people complain about with BAMA tunes, is they don't see as much of a performance increase as they would like. You say the tunes are fairly safe. They are fairly safe. That's kind of what they do. If that's what you're looking for, something that you can daily drive, something that is going to give you a performance increase, is going to basically find the potential of the parts that you've installed and try to at least close to match it as much as it can, then this is a good option for you. But if we're going to talk about the downsides of this sort of tune for BAMA as a service, wow, a Lincoln, what was that, the Mark 6 or whatever it is, the weird F-150 thing? It wasn't a Blackwood, but those are freaking weird. I don't know why they existed. If you can't tell, I have ADHD. I know it's not obvious at all, but anyway, let's get back to the point. Whoa, what is that place? But yeah, so overall, I am pretty happy with the tune. However, I have mentioned several times while I'm still running the BAMA tune, so what exactly does that mean for me? Well, I'm probably not going to run the BAMA tune forever, because I would like to get a different tune in the future for one major reason. Like I said, BAMA tunes are very, very safe. They're not going to tune for something if they can't guarantee like absolute reliability and safety for the engine with it. Again, as a company that works so closely with a giant parts distributor like American Muscle, it's not really that surprising. I don't know what is squeaking back there now, but that's annoying. But that means that BAMA does not tune for everything. They actually, if I'm not mistaken, used to do more stuff, but for, you know, really big mods like cams or forced induction, or even certain different intakes you can put on the car and stuff like that, BAMA doesn't tune for it. And one of the modifications that I would like to make to the car is a 2018 Coyote manifold. 2018 Coyote manifold maximizes power in comparison to pretty much every other manifold other than maybe the Cobra Jet manifold. But I would like to run the 2018 manifold because it'll be easier to use with potentially forced induction in the future if I was to run like a centrifugal supercharger or something like that. And a ported 2018 manifold is going to get pretty darn close to Cobra Jet manifold numbers, and is cheaper and is overall easier to work with than the Cobra Jet manifold probably. But BAMA doesn't offer a tune for a ported 2018 manifold. In fact, they don't offer a tune for a 2018 manifold at all. And that's unfortunate because I don't have an issue with using BAMA as a service. I think overall that they've done a good job with the tune on this car. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm still not happy with the suspension on the car, but the tune is really good. Oh my goodness, dude. If you're gonna take anything away from this video, it's not gonna have anything to do with BAMA tunes or any other sort of performance tune on Coyote Mustangs. It's gonna be never to move to Illinois because the roads are trash-tastic. No. Really thought that fire truck was about to cut me off. A fire truck of all vehicles. He thought about it, but he didn't, which is good. But yeah, bottom line, if you have minor mods you're doing to your Mustang, or even if you would just like a better tune than stock on a stock Mustang, BAMA's not a bad option. And you get a lot of other benefits from running one of the tuners that American Muscle will sell you with the free BAMA tunes. And with any other company, you have to buy the tuner and then you have to buy the tune. So the value is outstanding. There's no denying that. Whoa, we hooked pretty good that time. Still a little bit of spin, but not bad. But ultimately, like I said, if you're in the circumstances where you don't have a lot of mods on the vehicle, or you don't plan to do a lot of mods, and you'd like to get a better tune than the factory tune, or you plan on doing something where you're gonna need a different tune than the factory tune, BAMA's not a bad option. I am not saying it's the best option. I think that there are far better options than BAMA, most likely, but those options also cost you more money. Those options are also going to cost you more money for revisions, most likely. So you could argue that you get what you pay for, but ultimately, I think that what you're paying for with BAMA is not bad, all things considered. Especially because you're pretty much not paying for it. Now I'll continue to update you on the BAMA tune. If I run into any more issues, what it's like getting revisions for the BAMA tunes, and eventually down the road, most likely seeing how another tune from a different company compares to BAMA when I upgrade the car. But with that being said, I'm pretty happy with the BAMA tune, all things considered. And honestly, if you're considering a BAMA tune, hey, it might be worth going for it for you. Just consider your circumstances, give it some thought, and hey, you never know. Let's roll down the windows for this last bit. That Mustang doesn't have an exhaust on it. That was like a 3-valve 4.6 with no exhaust at all.
Okay. I'll tell you what, this car sounds really good. I stopped and got a coffee at my favorite place, and I have to say, overall, I'm pretty happy with the BAMA tune. I know I already broke most of this down, but outside of the little bit of hesitation or the kind of cough that it does on downshifts occasionally, which is a little bit annoying, I don't really have any other issues with the tune. That might be something that can be tuned out with further revisions. I'm not 100% sure. It might be something that I need to figure out that the car itself has an issue with. I don't know what it would be exactly. The car has replaced coil packs already. I just put new spark plugs in it. Could be something fuel related. Like I said though, the car pulls really, really good. It's very healthy. Also, just something to note, if you're watching those previous clips and you heard a couple weird sounding audio things with the Mustang, none of that was what I actually heard in the car. Most of that was just because of the audio getting kind of like overloaded by hitting bumps suddenly or something like that. The Mustang wasn't literally pulling weird. There's a couple spots where it sounds like it's going like or something like that. Yeah, that was just the audio on the video. That wasn't actually what the car was doing. The car's pulling perfectly fine. So yeah, this whole thing is pretty fast now. It is pretty much exactly as fast as it already was before I got this tune. But it drives much better. I'm very, very happy with this car right now, and I cannot wait to do further things with it. What's coming next? 2018 manifold maybe? E85 maybe? A louder exhaust? I thought probably not. It's already really loud right now. It's interesting because at idle and while you're just cruising around under like 3,000 RPM, it doesn't really sound much louder than any other car I've owned. Until that is, you rev it past like 3 or 4K, and then it sounds like the earth is crumbling beneath your feet. It is like a thunderstorm in your eardrums. It is a stampede on your senses. It is pretty loud. Kobe. So yeah, but like I said, I will continue to update you guys on the status of the BAMA tune and how the car is doing overall and what have you, and we will see whether these tunes are actually worth it together or not. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see other content from me, please consider subscribing to the channel. I appreciate all of you guys who are watching very, very much. The channel has grown a lot in a short amount of time. Since the last, I guess, like renaissance of my channel, whatever, when I was uploading more frequently before I started working full-time back in 2021, I had about 417 subscribers. We now have about 539, 540 maybe. That is absolutely killer. I appreciate all of the support so much. So thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you very much for supporting the shorts. And once again, I will see all of you guys next time.